We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this Rebel Outpost college football channel with the donation, just hit that $sign with a comment and we'll get to your super chat as quick as possible. And if you want to become a member, Cloak and Dagger member, go to the description box, hit the link and hit the join button and you'll become a member of this college football. It is the Rebel Outpost, and tonight's show is a good indication. It is a very good indication. Oh, am I going to get in trouble? I don't care. I've been in trouble. You all know the history. I have been in trouble. The smallest college football YouTube channel in the universe, and we have gotten ourselves in trouble even before we opened up this YouTube channel. The Los Angeles Times covered it. They documented it. They went into our evidence and they said, yes, Greg, you were in trouble with the Big Ten. I'm going to get in trouble with the SEC. Something is up. Something is up. Anyways, welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be a legend. In the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. And we've already got some new members. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Let me get to it. We've got a show. Saturday night is all right for PATC. The great John, Elton John, excuse me. Holy smokes. What's going on? I appreciate you all coming on in here. Adam Atiberos. Adam, Red Raider, thank you for becoming an early peak member. You are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. And also, you were so kind to give out a gift membership. And we're going to be looking at who was gifted that membership. But Adam, I appreciate you coming on in. I appreciate you becoming a member. And I appreciate you with your incredible generosity giving out a gift membership right away. That is special. Thank you, Adam, so very much. Thank you so very much. Jim Reese, holy smokes. Thank you, kind sir. Jim Reese, a longtime PATC member, 5 gifted memberships. Holy smokes. Jim, you are hereby knighted Cloak and Dagger once again. And let me get to everybody here who, because of the generosity, already at the beginning of the show, For the Canes, you were gifted a membership by Adam. For the Canes, you are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. And because of the generosity of Mr. Jim Reese, Marquis Crenshaw, John Dry, Benjamin Griffith, Chris Evans, the great tennis player. No. I can't remember. Chris, who was it? It was Chris Evans, right? Navratilova versus... I don't remember. Anyways, Chris Evans, you are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted, and so are you, Ty. All 5 of you, thank you once again, Jim, and all those 5, please thank Jim in the comment section, in the chat room. Thank you so very much, and we've already got a Moon Cat, always willing to support this Rebel channel. Greg, thank you, Moon Cat. I appreciate you, Super Chat. Incredible generosity right out of the gate. Holy smokes, I'm overwhelmed. And we haven't even got to, we haven't even talked about what we're going to talk about. Saturday night, all right for PATC. Before I start, let me just say, you know, a lot of people are going to watch, not a lot of people are going to watch this show. A small number of people are going to watch this show, but there's going to be a faction who watches this live show tonight and say, Greg is being unfair. Greg is being unfair. He's picking on Greg Sankey too much. You know what? You might be correct. Maybe I'm being a bit unfair. But me being unfair is I'm an equal opportunist. I'm going to be unfair to everybody across the board. I think I'm fair, but if you think I'm unfair, that's fine. But this is not a Big Ten versus SEC thing. The Big Ten is just as guilty. And I've been questioning Tony Petitti. And I've been questioning Greg Sankey. And for those who know the Kevin Warren thing, I never let up. It's why I was tracked by Kevin Warren's chief of staff, who was the legal counsel, 9 different times in the summer of 2022. All that is documented. So I've been in trouble before. I'm going to get in trouble again. I'm probably going to get in trouble tonight. That's why this is the Rebel Outpost. There is no strings attached. Not up here. I'm attached to you all, but I'm not attached to the powers that be. I don't need to ensure my access. Nah. We got our ways. We've got our ways here at Peek Around the Corner. Don't have to ensure my access. Now, so I get it. If you don't want me picking on Greg Sankey, then this might not be the live show for you. And for those who are cheering on my picking of Greg Sankey, your commissioner might be next. Or it has been, and it will be again. And I'm talking to you, Big Ten fan base out there. The title of the show is Greg Sankey. Is he feeling a little heat? Is he feeling a little heat as the Big 12 and the ACC push back on him? I think there's evidence that, yes, he is feeling the heat. He's got a history of talking when he shouldn't be talking, and he should be talking, and when he's not talking, he should be talking. Again, Greg is just being unfair tonight. You can put it in the chat, put it in the super chat, give us a call. Let me have it. Let me know how unfair I am being. But give me a moment. Give me a moment to give out my case on this. So we're going to be talking about Greg Sankey. A report came out earlier today while he was at the women's basketball tournament in the SEC. He said some stuff. And he did it in the way he always does it when he feels uncomfortable. Am I reaching? Okay, yeah, I'm reaching. No question about it. I'm guilty. But there is a trend here. Anytime he feels a little bit uncomfortable, he lashes out. He blames others. He did it again. And I think his statements today, again, are odd. I think, you remember when I said, when Tony Petitti, and when this whole thing of trying to get a first round bye, exclusive rights to the first round bye, you remember I went on a big rant? I mean, the whole live show. And I said, this isn't going to help the Big Ten and the SEC. I know you're supposed to aim high when you're negotiating, but if you are so far off the beaten path, it hurts you. You lose the room. You lose credibility. It happened to George Kliavkoff. We saw it in real time. Every time he made an odd comment, I came on here and said, this is hurting the Pac-12. And people at that time said, Greg, you're not being fair. The oddity of George Kliavkoff showed up in bright colors. And he lost the room. He lost trust. When ESPN and Fox gave him the offer, and they came and the Pac-12 came back with a counter offer, and ESPN saw that counter offer, what did they do? They said, "Holy smokes! They just pulled away. They pulled away from the Pac. They said Pac-12 is not serious. They have no clue of their real valuation. They're not doing their homework. And of course, they overcharged Comcast. But that wasn't Kliakoff's issue. And then he said a whole bunch of things about UCLA will actually make less money joining the Big Ten if they stayed in the Pac-12. And he didn't say it just once on Kazano and Wilner. He doubled down on that. He was saying odd statements over and over and over again. People lost trust. The SEC and the Big Ten overreached, and we talked about it right on that night. There is a difference between aiming high on negotiations and just completely jumping the shark. I think the reason we're doing this show tonight is because next week we're either going to have a fireworks, an explosion, or we're going to get resolution. I think we're going to get resolution. But again, Greg Sankey, he gave another indication that he's feeling the heat. And I think he's feeling the heat because he's not getting what he wants. And he's done this before. On the smallest issues, on the largest issues. I think he would be an incredibly bad poker player. Incredibly bad poker player. Yes, he did keep the Oklahoma-Texas thing under wraps. Although, remember, that was Houston chronicled. Remember that the Houston Chronicle broke that story before Sankey and everybody wanted it out, before Oklahoma wanted it out, before Texas wanted it out. He was Houston chronicled. That's why, by the way, Kevin Warren had his legal counsel on my butt, and I'll say the word butt for the second live show in a row, because they didn't want to be Houston chronicled on their USC expansion. And I know, I got a whole, man, am I going to be unpopular by the end of the night once again? But I've got, I having my doubts on Tony Petitti, and I keep bringing this up, and I really can't get into it yet. And these are the two that have an advisory group. These are the two that are going to rule the college football landscape. These are the two that are going to make the rules and then bring other people in, the Big 12, the ACC, to build a consensus. These are the two visionaries. I haven't seen any vision. They haven't said anything. Greg Sankey is completely silent on, he doesn't want professionalism. Okay, fine. He doesn't want unionization. He doesn't want anything to change. He doesn't want anything to change except for SEC to have more power. But he doesn't know how to quite get there. I've got examples. I've got the receipts. We're going to go through those tonight. But first of all, I'm going to get everybody mad on a different subject. PATC tonight is putting out their rankings, the great 8 running backs coming into 2024. And one of your great running backs ain't going to be on there. Or I'm going to have them ranked too low. I'm not going to have them ranked high enough. There's going to be high controversy in the chat room when I reveal the great 8 running backs. We're going to start with that. And then we're going to get to Greg Sankey. And I get it. I get it. If you Google Greg Sankey and you read every single article that's ever been written about Greg Sankey, is there a negative one out there? Has anybody challenged him at all about anything? Has anybody written an article lately saying, where is his vision? Why does he keep going to Congress to get a carve out? Why can't he see the future? Why doesn't he talk about collective bargaining agreement with student athletes? Why is he taking pot shots at everybody continuously? What other commissioner do you see? There is no articles on that. Nobody wants to lose access to the most powerful commissioner in college sports. Although he might be losing that title. Is that why he's feeling the heat? But we are not afraid here at Peek Around the Corner. So we are going to say something that's going to make people uncomfortable in the college football world, because we can do that here. We can do that here at Peek Around the Corner. So first of all, let me get to everybody who's coming on in. Ryan, Willie, Greg, you knew when you threw elbows at Wisconsin I was going to jump off the top rope towards Minnesota, and you landed the flying elbow off the top rope. You hit me in the chest. You pinned me for the 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for the super chat. I've got no problem with that, Ryan. You're a Badger. I'm a Gopher. That's going to happen every time we meet in the chat room. But I do appreciate your incredible generosity to this channel and for you standing up for your Wisconsin Badgers. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Appreciate it. And John Teal, thank you for the super chat. I hope he treats them the way they treated the Pack. I might have lost the context to this comment. But I do appreciate the super chat, John. I'm sorry I did not get to it earlier because I think I missed the context of what you were trying to say. But I do appreciate your generosity. Okay. Let me thank everybody who's come on in on a Saturday night. Saturday night is all right for PATC. Chris Everett. Why did I think it was Chris Everett? Man, This thing doesn't work too good anymore. Thank you, Minnesota Seminoles, D5 Terps, Daniel Montcastle, Doug Steinhauser, Jay Chapman, the hot guy, Immaculate. I'm a feeling some talk about Clemson is a coming. Terry Kane, Joe Z, G Brew, Miles of Fun is in the house. D5 Terps is in the house. Joe Z, Jim Reese, thank you once again for your incredible generosity. Our Webb is in the house. Lannis 31 is in the house. Stephen Vitt, early peak member. Congo, he's in the house. Don Scruggs, what's up, y'all? SEC fan here. Randy Taylor, bringing the heat. G Brew. David Griffin, thank you so very much for coming on in. John Kelly, I'm pretty excited about West Virginia personally getting better football again. Yes. If Garrett Green can just get that completion percentage up a little bit, I think West Virginia is going to be in the game. Also, in contention for the Big 12 championship. Also, John Kelly, I do not have that West Virginia running back. I forget the name. Not C.J. Donaldson, the other cat, the smaller guy. The guy who ran incredibly well at the end of last year for West Virginia. Was averaging over 8 yards a carry. I forget the name. I saw him play a bunch of times. I do not have him in the top 8 because, I need to see a little bit more of him, right? More carries. Got to get, but he's a great one, even though I can't remember the name. The fat guy from Minnesota is losing it. Is absolutely losing it. I don't remember anything. Movie Time Blues is in the house. Nathan, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. White. Yes. White. Yes. I don't have him in the top 8, but the grade 8, we're calling it. But I know we're all going to be watching him. Greg Pflugar is correct. You do not hear that very often in the chat room. The P2 still need everyone else for their legitimacy. Clemson news is coming. Laura Weiss, John Faumlor is in the house. Okay, let's get to Sam James, Rock Chalk Neal. Now, I do have Devin Neal in the grade 8. But I'm going to get yelled at by where I have him in the grade 8. So I'm going to get yelled at a lot here tonight. No question about it. The PATC community is going to be using the fat guy from Minnesota as a piñata. Kenneth Green, thank you so much for becoming an early peak member. Holy smokes. Thank you, sir, for your generosity. Welcome aboard. You are hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. Thank you so very much, Kenneth Green. Now you can watch those episodes, early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes, members only. You can go to the YouTube channel. You'll find them. The last one we did was pretty interesting. Hopefully all of them are interesting. A little bit different vibe when it comes to the Cloak and Dagger episodes versus the episodes that we do for everybody. And the episodes that we do for everybody, there's going to be one coming out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. So that's for everybody. So buckle up, brace for impact. Anthony Carlson's in the house. Anthony Mazzano's in the house. Greg, can you read my last comment? Can Can there be a turn of events where you know how people are assuming Miami is going to Florida State to the Big Ten? I don't even understand that question. I apologize. I'm reading it again. Can there be a turn of events where you know how people are assuming Miami is going to Florida State to the Big Ten at Miami partners with Clemson? Don't quite understand the question. I apologize, Anthony. Miami is a huge market that would be a good blending combination with both Clemson and Florida State. I don't think Miami ends up in the SEC. As of right now, don't think that's going to happen. We shall see. But I thank you for the question. Let's first get to, hold on, everybody. Hold on. Holy cow. Whoops. That's not good. I already screwed up. That does not surprise anybody. I already screwed up. PATC Chalk Talk. The top 2024 running backs. Here it goes. We're starting with number 8. And boy, oh boy, people are going to get upset with the fat guy from Minnesota. We're going to start with 8 and 7. Devin Neal, Kansas. ETN, Georgia. Now, the way I'm ranking them is running backs, top 8 running backs that are going to have the most impact on their team being successful, winning in 2024. Devin Neal, I think he's rushed for. He's averaged over 6 yards a carry the last 2 years. The only reason I don't have him ranked higher, my criteria is the great 8 running backs that are going to impact their teams winning the most. Devin Neal, of course, he's a big positive impact for Kansas. It's just that I think they have more, their quarterback, for example, if he can stay healthy. Jalen Daniels. So, Devin Neal, great running back. I know a lot of people would have them ranked higher. I know Rock Chalk Jayhawk fans are screaming at me right now. But Devin Neal is number 8. Now, ETN. Again, I have him at number 7, and I think the world of this guy. How much impact is it going to have for Georgia to win, their 11 or 12 games this year? He's going to have a major impact, but there are other big things going on at Georgia. They're absolutely stacked. Transferring from Florida. Get the ball in his hands. Out of the backfield, run him. I think he averaged about 5-9 yards a carry last year. He's going to average more with the Georgia Bulldogs. ETN, number 7. Number 6, the best G5 running back in the country, Ashton Janiti, Boise State Broncos, Mountain West games. Watch him. Absolutely fantastic. And he's going to have a major impact not only on Boise State, but the Mountain West Conference race, G5. Look, you see it now. You're starting to see Boise State. You're starting to see Boise State be the G5. People are putting them in their projections. I'm not quite there yet. But I believe, I can't remember who had them. Maybe it was Brett McMurphy. Go check out Brett McMurphy's last projections. Maybe it was somebody in CBS had Boise State. And this cat is the reason why. Ashton is the reason why. I got to have him in the grade 8. Now, I should have given you all a heads up. Who I've got at number 3 is going to make your head spin. But give me a moment to explain. I've actually got 9 names listed. The reason I've got 9 names listed, and I'll show you in a second. Brooks, Texas Tech, Red Raider, he's got to be on the list. No questions about it. Big 12, buckle up. The Red Raider Brooks, he's definitely in. I couldn't get him any higher than 5, but he's definitely in the top 8. No question about it. Number 4, Omarion Hampton, North Carolina. And number 4, Quinshawn Judkins, Ohio State. So I cheated. Because I've got a 3, a 2, and a 1. I've got 9 names in my grade 8. That's how the fat guy from Minnesota cheats. He says the grade 8, but I give you 9 names. I could not separate these two. Omarion Hampton, I think he averaged about 5.9 yards per rush, 1,500 yards. Drake May, the great quarterback. So he had some help. He had some help because Drake May was a great quarterback. But he did not have help because the North Carolina Tar Heels offensive line was miserable at run blocking, and Hampton still got 5.9 yards per rush. Tough runner. Reminds me of Jordan Waters, the transfer running back who went from Duke to North Carolina State, who's not in this list, but another great running back who did not make the list. So, again, Hampton could have, I believe he's going to have big impact in North Carolina, more than last year. And he's a great one. So, watch out for Hampton. Now, unfortunately, my Minnesota Golden Gophers start the season Thursday night, week 1, national television, Minnesota Golden Gophers versus North Carolina. And we got to go against Hampton once again. So we'll see what happens there. Number 4, Quinshon Judkins, Ohio State. I did the exact same rankings of last year. I did my grade 8 running backs for 2023. Quinshon Judkins was number 1 on my list. PATC number 1. I could not do it again. I couldn't put him up there number 1 again. He declined last year. Now, I happen to think it was mostly due to Ole Miss O-line. Just like Hampton's O-line when it comes to rushing. But there's a little bit of a mystery there. So Judkins' true freshman year was absolutely brilliant for Ole Miss. His sophomore year, not so much. So I've got him 4. And I could not separate these two cats. 4 and 4. So who's number 3? Who's number 2 in the grade 8? Give me, now when you see number 3, first of all, your first reaction is going to be, who? But if you know him, if you've seen him play, you know that the California Golden Bears have got themselves a special one. Jaden Ott, California. Very good statistics, obviously, else he wouldn't be on this list. Very good, great running back if you watch him. But this year, I think he's going to be a superstar. At the beginning of last year, and we talked about it at the beginning of last year, California was starting a quarterback, Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson. I'm not going to go through it on this live show, but I did it a year ago. Not a Division I quarterback. I don't understand how California could have named him their starting quarterback. Sam Jackson has committed. He is Dylan Raiola before Dylan Raiola appeared on the scene. Sam Jackson committed, non-committed out of high school a bunch of times, went to college. He committed to Minnesota twice, never went to Minnesota, committed to Purdue. He's been all over the place. I'm missing names of schools that he's been at. Always should have been a wide receiver. But he did not want to play wide receiver. He thought he was a quarterback. He's not a quarterback. An incredible athlete, but he's not a quarterback. California started Sam Jackson at the start of the season. In the game against Auburn, second week of the season, Auburn 14, California 10. California could have beaten Auburn. But Sam Jackson was horrific. Jaden Ott, Jaden Ott, I think he ran for some 60, 70 yards against Auburn. They bottled him up easily. But California found a quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. He was excellent. He was getting better. He threw too many interceptions. But he could complete a pass. Over 60% completion percentage, threw some touchdowns. finally got the California Golden Bears offense better than they've been for the past decade. And Mr. Ott suddenly had some room to cook. And I think Ott, with Mendoza as the quarterback, I think Ott is going to cook. California plays at Auburn second week again this year. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the production of Ott in that game against SEC Auburn. And I think Ott is going to prove to all you right away that the fat guy from Minnesota was correct in putting Ott so high on the list. Number 2, Travion Henderson, Ohio State, the thoroughbred. I don't really have to. The only thing is, is his impact going to be lightened a little bit because Junkins is there, but Henderson is an absolute beast. He's going to be playing on Sundays. If he can go through the season without getting nicked up, Henderson could be one of the top guys for the Heisman race. Because I don't think Will Howard, if the Buckeyes go through the whole, if they just do it all, go 13-0, it could be Travion Henderson that is holding the Heisman Trophy. Number 1, Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State. Have to put him at number 1. He is special. He's staying at Oklahoma State. The Cowboy fans are elated. Gotta have Ollie number 1. So, there it is. There is my grade 8. Let me have it. Let me know how wrong I got it once again here at Peek Around the Corner. That is my grade 8. Holy smokes. Anthony Carlson gifted 10 memberships. Wow. Anthony, first of all, you are knighted, cloak and dagger once again. Thank you for your incredible generosity tonight. Man, oh man, holy smokes. We got some very kind people in the PATC community. Nathan, congratulations to Nathan. Anthony Manzano, Antoine Coates, Bob Swanger, Rodney Richborg, Edward Douglas Ministries, John Grove, Juan Carlos, Stephen Clark, and Storm Chaser 80. You are here, all here by Cloak and Dagger Knighted. Congratulations. Please thank Anthony Carlson in the chat room for his generosity. You are hereby all Cloak and Dagger Knighted. You can go into the YouTube channel, watch those membership-only episodes. Congratulations. Now, I gotta look. Gordon's definitely number 1, the hot guy. He thinks Judkins should be number 3. Nobody's gonna like my Jaden Ott for number 3. Just give him a chance. You gotta watch him. Okay? California Auburn. I don't know who California plays in the first week. They're in the ACC. I don't know their schedule, but I know they play Auburn. They played Auburn at home, I think, last year. I think they got to go to Auburn this year. Keep an eye on Ott. PN Ute. We'll see how Ollie does against the Utes D. Woo! On September 21st. Yes. Thanks for that comment. Thanks for the super chat, for your generosity. PNWU, thank you for that comment. Yes. Ollie versus the Utah's rush defense. Man. Yeah, there is we've got some time here, right? We're getting into the spring practices. We're starting to marinate here. We've got our rankings. We're going to be doing our way too early predictions like conference races, but we're sprinkling it in there, right? Quarterback rankings, conferences, done that. We've done our running backs. Miles of fun, Greg. All these backs would love to run behind the quarterback in that Glenn Mason inside zone scheme. Red blanket, let's go. The door has closed for any more G5s to make the jump. I don't believe so. Well, I would not completely shut that door. To make a jump into a power conference, possibly. But there are G5 schools that, and that's probably what you're saying, G-Brew. But is there G5 schools that can make a jump in improving themselves to get more money, more exposure? I think we're going to see a lot of G5 movement. Well, one of the things I'm looking at the ACC implodes, University of South Florida Bulls have an opportunity. Things of that nature. You could be correct, though, G-Brew. You could be correct. Boise beat Oklahoma long before TCU beat Michigan. Patrick. John Kelly. Jaden out to be number 3. Wow, somebody agrees with me. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Somebody agrees with me. Man, oh man. I've never had anybody agree with me before. White and Donaldson will provide thunder and lightning with West Virginia. Yeah, it's, I did my top 25 and I had West Virginia, Iowa, and Wisconsin right outside the 25. 26, 27, 28. I had Oklahoma State at 25. I had Ollie Gordon at 25. I had Alan Bowman, Mike Gundy at 25. But West Virginia is right there. And I'm not discounting West Virginia's chances to win the Big 12. I'm not. I got Utah, number 1. Kansas State's going to be in there. I think Oklahoma State's going to be in there. Kansas is definitely going to be in there. I think they're the second favorite. And that's all that you need to say about Lance Leipold, the incredible job he's done. Kansas is the second favorite to win the Big 12, in my opinion. But Kansas State is right there. Avery Johnson. I think Oklahoma State's right there. And then West Virginia. Penn State goes to Morgantown. Drew Aller, you got to come to play this year. You've got to come to play this year. Ryan Willie, trophy game between Wisconsin and Washington. What would you name it? Sergeant Pickles and I have throwing elbows. Washington and Wisconsin. Trophy game. What would I call it? Let me marinate on that. Evil Badger, Ryan Willie. Will Washington and Oregon create some trophy games with other Big Ten schools in the years ahead? Probably. Could Wisconsin be one of them? Very well could be. There's some commonalities between Wisconsin and Washington. One of them being their big 2 monster research universities in a monster research conference. But those 2 are at the top 4 of the conference when it comes to research. There's a lot of commonality between Wisconsin and Washington. I cannot give you a name right now, Ryan, but I appreciate the super chat. Keep an eye on Colorado. to win the Big 12. I don't have them in there. But we're all going to keep an eye on Colorado, just like last year. We'll see if their offensive line and defensive line is better. Okay, let's get to the story. Main story of the evening. Let's get to it. Greg Sankey. Where do I begin? I can go at this two different directions. Let's just go at it. Okay. Article on 3. Nick Schultz. We provide a link in the description. You can read the whole thing. I don't think we quite go through the whole article. It's a short one. As the college football playoff gets ready to expand to 12 teams this year, the conversations continue about what happens behind the next two seasons. What happened 2026 and beyond. From further expansion to media rights and revenue distribution, it seems as though the CFP isn't done changing. The idea of expanding the CFP has been around for the last few years, although it's becoming a reality starting with the 2024 season. There was talk of growing from 4 teams to 12 in 2023 prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, but conversations stalled and it had to wait until 2024. In fact, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey says he thinks the different topics being discussed now should have come up earlier, which is why he expressed frustration about where things stand. I'm going to do the best I can not to go on a big old rant. But Greg Sankey, once again, the commissioner of the most powerful, successful college athletic conference in the country, is frustrated again about where things stand. Let me go through one more screenshot, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to circle back to this. We have a reality for college football playoff that says we need to be in conversations, Sankey said, ahead of Friday's SEC's women's basketball tournament. So he said this yesterday. This article was published today. Okay? This is not something old. Although, I'll show you a trend. It's been a long-term trend at this point. We have a reality for college football playoff that says we need to be in conversations, Sankey said, ahead of Friday's SEC's women's basketball tournament game between Auburn and LSU. And it's been a 4-year work project for me. And it's been a 4-year work project for me that others decided to just put up on the shelf for basically 2 years. What are you talking about? Again, and this is not it. We're just scratching the surface here. So be patient. What are you talking about? It's been a 4-year project. What? We've had expansion going on. We've had an implosion of an entire conference. Changes need to be made for 2024-25. You need a unanimous vote. Other people are looking out for their interests, just like you are for yours, Sankey. It's been a 4-year work project for me that others decided just to put up on the shelf. Nobody put nothing on a shelf. Nobody knew how this was even going to look like. And by the way, Greg Sankey, by the way, the last time you were in a room doing this work project, going from a 4-team to 12-team playoff, with Bob Bowlesby in the room, you knifed him. You knifed him and the Big 12. Now, again, you were looking out for your conference. You were looking out for your universities. So I get it. But I don't get this passive-aggressive, once again, complaining how you've been working so hard and everybody else has been putting it on the shelf. No one's been putting nothing on the shelf. Other commissioners, other universities, other athletic directors have been looking out for their interests. We just went through the Pac-12. We just went through Colorado. We talked about it. We reported it in real time. They were looking out for the best interest. It doesn't look like the Pac-12 is going to get a media deal that would satisfy the presidents. Colorado made the move. Arizona State, Utah. Things are happening. And you don't like any of those things. And I've got the receipts, and I'm going to show them. You just don't like anything. It's been a 4-year work project for me that others decided just to put on the shelf for basically 2 years. Nobody has put anything on the shelf. Nobody has put anything on the shelf. Part of my frustration is the details that we're trying to grind through right now. We should have been grinding through back in 2022 or 23, not 24, but problems yield an effort. That's a mantra of mine. Are you kidding me? The Big Ten and USC were talking through the spring and summer of 2022. June 30th, it became official. USC and UCLA. There's no way the Pac-12 is going to... The Pac-12 was trying to get immediate, though. They were trying to survive. They didn't. Whatever deal, whatever playoff format you would have created back then, you would have had to redo anyways. What's going on right now was eventually always going to happen. The Great Gold Rush. We phrased the coin, the Great Gold Rush. We said elbows would be flying. The elbows are being flown now. This was always going to be. Jeez, if the dumbest host of all college football YouTube channels saw this happening months ago, Sankey, come on, man. Again, you're throwing elbows at people. Again, people, your peers. That's what you do. And again, I'm going to show it. I got receipts on this. This is what you do every single time. And I believe you're doing it now because things have gone pear-shaped. The Big 12 and the ACC pushback is real. And I think they're calling your bluff. And if you think I'm wrong, well, be patient here. Let's go to the next page. But Sankey had a message about what's... I'm sorry. But Sankey had a message about what's being reported about the CFP's looming decisions. And he channeled Mississippi State Athletic Director Zach Selman in the process. And I'll just give you the background on this. Zach Selman basically told his local press about a coaching search, saying if you don't hear from me, directly from me, it's not true. Just to give you the backdrop on that. Reports indicated multiple ideas the CFP is considering after the 2026 season when the current deal with ESPN expires. A 14-team model has been proposed and reported multiple times by multiple outlets. ESPN, The Athletic, Yahoo Sports, and I'm sure there's others. Brett McMurphy, Action Network, and I'm sure there's others. A 14-team model has been proposed and reported. Discussions also included automatic buys for the Big Ten and the SEC following their expansions. However, ESPN reported the CFP is reconsidering that idea after public backlash, including from the Big 12 and ACC coaches. Before I continue on, well, no, duh. I mean, we at PATC, when this news broke, we went live and we said this was so outlandish, it was going to come back and bite Sankey and Petiti. It was reported that this idea was in one of the versions, and it was being socialized. And it's so outlandish. It is so outlandish, and I'm not going to go through why it is, but it's just, it would make college football too scripted. The results would be too scripted. Right now, it's difficult enough for a middling team, which most of us are. Most of our fan bases are middling. It's tough. It's tough enough to go against the helmet schools and beat them on the field because of the resource disadvantage and every other disadvantage under the sun. But then they give exclusive rights to buys to the SEC and Big Ten. This is you're no longer selling the product of competition. You're selling a product of scripted TV show. Anyways, we all thought, most of us thought, it was really obvious that this pushback, this backlash was going to happen. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to stand by what I said that night. It hurt Sankey. It hurt him. It hurt Petiti that this got out there. It hurt their credibility. No one else is going to say it. I don't think anyone has public. I don't think anyone would dare write that. But this is the rebel outpost of college football. We'll say it. This hurt them. And Sankey will go on to the next page. So hold your fire. But just like when George Kliavkoff made so many ridiculous statements when it came to UCLA leaving, when he said UCLA was going to make less than the Big Ten, when he said he had documentation about it, when he kept doubling down, tripling down on that most ridiculous statement. When George Kliavkoff, when he talked about how we're going to blow by the big, his counteroffer to ESPN was ridiculous. He hurt himself. He hurt his credibility in the room, outside the room, and I think Sankey and Petiti have done that. We all recognize, I recognize the power too. We get it. More power, influence, money, voting rights. You're going to get more money. We've been reporting on this since the start of this channel. We reported this in June of 2022. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go off script here. I'm going to go off script. This has all been obvious. Hold on, everybody. I apologize. I'm going to do something here. This was my comment on Twitter. Okay, I got to make sure I know where I'm at here. Okay. This was my comment on Twitter. June 6, 2022. 24 days before the whole world found out that USC was going to the Big Ten. I had been reporting on this for 3 months. I was raked over the coals, that's fine. But people didn't understand then. This is what I wrote 24 days before it officially happened. Even stronger interest than expected for the Big Ten content during meeting negotiations is not good news for Pac. What BTM, he's one of my most important sources, has been saying for years is only growing stronger. Economic forces of consolidating big brands together, P2, P3, that led Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC is now pulling USC away from the Pac. We started on March 31st. We went all the way to June 30th, 2022. While people like Genetics 56 was using foul language every day on Twitter saying this was not going to happen. When these bozos who are talking about a power two and they think they invented the term, Genetics 56 thought that Nebraska was not going to sign the next Big Ten deal because he said Nebraska was leaving to a Super League in 2024. Him and I had that conversation back and forth in April of 2022, and I've got the receipts, and I haven't shown them. We always knew there was going to be a Power 2, Power 3. Who that Power 3rd conference was going to be, we don't know. We know about the power of consolidation. This is why all this is happening. Let me get back. Man, I could go on all day, all night about everything. The idea, again, back to Sankey. The idea that this stuff could have been worked on in 22, 23, that everything could be done by now is just so not valid. Just he's throwing things out there. Let me get on. Okay, let me get to the next. Let me get to the next page. This is Sankey now. Okay, remember. Sankey's upset. Okay, he's upset. Things are being leaked out. He's going to take. Let me go back a page. He's going to take. He's going to channel Mississippi State's athletic director Zach Selman. And Zach Selman said to his local reporters, "Look, if you didn't hear from me, it's not true." Myself and my colleagues. This is Sankey. Myself and my colleagues. When I leave here, now this is when he's at Friday's yesterday SEC's women's basketball tournament. Myself and my colleagues, when I leave here, I'm going to jump on a phone call yet again. He's got to do it again. I told our ADs, I quoted Zach Selman. So when Zach made a football change in his press conference, he said, "Unless it's come from me, don't believe it." Sankey said, this is Sankey now. Here comes the passive-aggressive attack here. While I appreciate anonymous sources and the unnamed athletic director in this conference, that conference, Big Ten, I don't know what he's talking about. I told our athletic directors, our presidents, and chancellors. Unless it's coming from me, don't believe it. And I'll tell you when it's true. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to show some other stuff here. And I apologize for using the word bozos. Okay. This is what Sankey does when he feels the heat. I don't think he even wants to be attached to that crazy idea of exclusive rights for first round bye for the Big Ten, the SEC. And he's like, well, I appreciate anonymous sources and the unnamed athletic director in this conference. So, he's taking a shot, an unnamed athletic director in that conference, taking a shot. I told our athletic directors and our presidents, chancellors, unless it's coming from me, don't believe it. I'll tell you when it's true. Okay, so let's take a let's just take a pause here. We're gonna get back to Sankey. Terry Fox, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate your incredible generosity. Thank you for coming on into the chat room. Appreciate it, Mr. Fox. Rock and Rant. Karen Sankey would like to speak to the manager. Thank you, Rock and Rant, Mr. Hurricane. Appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much. We've got some more stuff to get to. Then I'm going to open up the phone lines. You can talk. You can rake me over the coals on our great 8 running backs, top 8 running backs. It was 9. I cheated. No question about it. The fat guy from Minnesota. If a Golden Gopher ain't cheating, he ain't trying. Okay. So now your question might be, well, Greg, okay. He's firing shots. He's unhappy. He doesn't like what's been out there. He's telling his own people. Now he's telling the presses, but he's telling his own, don't believe everything. Don't anyone believe anything unless it's coming from me. It doesn't matter if people are leaking information to Ross Dellinger, to Max Olson. I could go right down the list. Brett McMurray, all of them. If it ain't coming from me, don't believe it. And we've all seen the reports of the great pushback on the ridiculous idea of exclusive rights. This is what Sankey does. Remember, the SEC, the most powerful conference in the country, the most successful college football conference in the country, not close. They are the most, that is the conference that is against change the most, right? For obvious reasons. NIL, now everyone's for NIL, but when it first began, it was, the SEC was like, now everybody's going to pay their student athletes above the table, not below the table. You go on, and Sankey never talks about collective bargaining agreement. He says he doesn't want his players to be professional. He has been the most against any change. But he's also been the one that has been the most against change in realignment. The SEC enjoyed when they expanded. But when anybody else expands, he's going to let you know. He's going to give a little shot. Now, no other commissioner is doing that. No other commissioner is saying that about the SEC. Let me show you something. This was in SI. I'm just showing you part of the section. This is when the Big Ten expanded with USC. The word around college football after that move was that the Big Ten was only acting in response to the SEC, which voted to add Oklahoma and Texas the year before. That definitely appears to be the opinion of SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, who took a little dig at the Big Ten at the start of the SEC media days. Now remember, when Oklahoma and Texas called Greg Sankey first, Greg Sankey reeled them in, which was obvious choice. He was praised up and down. There was articles written. Go ahead and Google it. He's changed. He's made the SEC number one. They were already number one, but now he's made them even more big and powerful. Feinbaum threw him flowers. Heather Dinich threw him flowers. Everybody on ESPN threw them flowers. Everybody who wanted continued access to Sankey threw him flowers over and over and over and over again. And then when the Big Ten gets a call from USC alone, then they got a call from UCLA alone. Those two schools did not do it together. We reported that on April 4th, 2022. So when that happened, Sankey says, there's no sense of urgency in our league. There's no panic in reaction to others' decision, he said of the SEC's recent expansion. Because in this article, he was alluding to that the Big Ten panicked when they brought on USC. We know who we are. We are confident in our collective strength, and we are uniquely positioned to continue to provide remarkable experience educationally, athletically, along with world-class support student athletes. They have no problem with him praising the great conference of the SEC. But he took a dig. He took a dig at the Big Ten. Of course, the Big Ten might take issue with that description of their expansion. It was not a panic move. It was because of consolidation. USC wanted to get above the stratification line of revenue. We talked about it. I've talked about it. The conference would argue it didn't act with panic or in reaction to what the SEC did, given that USC and UCLA reportedly approached the Big Ten about joining, not the other way around. And we know here at Peek Around the Corner, one of the rules to realignment, it never sleeps. The other rule is the schools call the conference first, not the other way around. When Texas and Oklahoma called the SEC, they called together. When UCLA and USC called the Big Ten, they did not call the Big Ten together. Now, what happened when the Big Ten expanded with Oregon and Washington? What happened when the Big 12, Yormark, decided that the Big 12's best chance for survival, the only chance of survival, the best serve his university in the Big 12 was to go nationwide, to expand the bandwidth of Big 12, to give his media partners more value when it comes to Big 12 content. The SEC, again, this is SI article, but this is after what happened with the Big 12 and the Pac-12, Big 10, Pac-12. The SEC was a mere bystander last week, as the Big 10 and Big 12 swooped in to pick apart the remnants of the Pac-12, pushing the once powerful conference to the brink of existence. But that didn't stop SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey from commenting on the happenings Tuesday and offering a not-so-subtle jab at the other two leagues regarding their westward sojourns for new members. Again, Sankey cannot not jab away at other conferences. And he does this in the most passive-aggressive manner. He takes a jab at the two conferences. speaking as a guest on Paul Feinbaum's show, Sankey was lauding the current state of the SEC when he asked about the league acquiring Texas and Oklahoma, which was fine. It was fine when he did it, right? From the Big 12 in order to capitalize on those schools' wide reach and brands. Sankey then lobbed a barb that seemed pinpointed toward the Big 10 and the Big 12. We have this contiguous group. We don't need to be in 4 time zones to generate interest on the West Coast, Sankey said. Sankey has said a lot. He has said he's given a lot of shots. And Sports Illustrated, which is basically the digital's not existence, or the print's not, I don't think any of its existence anymore. They were the only ones who really came out and described these as barbs, shots. Nobody else is going to describe Greg Sankey that way. Nobody else, if we go back to the On 3, you know, he's complaining throughout this whole article where he talked Friday about why hasn't this been solved. We could have gotten this done earlier. No, you couldn't have. He went on and on and on. This has been a 4-year work project for me that others decided just to put on the shelf for basically 2 years. Again, Friday, he is taking a shot at everybody else in that room. He continues to do this. We continue to call him out on it. He continues to do this. Why is he doing this on a Friday? This article came out today. He said this stuff on Friday. We have, ladies and gentlemen, a very crucial, important week. An internal deadline. This is internal. This is an internal deadline by the 10 commissioners in Notre Dame, probably with external pressure from ESPN, because they might pull that $1.3 billion playoff deal. But that internal deadline is next week, at the end of next week. That's the deadline. And he's talking about how everybody else put it on the shelf. He's attacking the other people in the room. Once again. Now, when he did it to Kevin Warren, there's a lot of other receipts out there. He did this continuously to Kevin Warren. Continuously. People kind of understood because Kevin Warren didn't build consensus. He got frustrated with Sankey. But Sankey has done this to everybody. His peers. I think he got. I think Sankey got. I think he overstepped. I think he felt the pushback from the Big 12 and the ACC. I think he felt pushback from his own athletic directors. Because he took a shot at one of his athletic directors, saying that an unnamed athletic director in his conference, being an anonymous source to these reports. I think it was so outlandish what Petiti and Sankey did. I think it hurt him. And now he's lashing out. I think a lot of things hurt him. I really do. I think it hurt the SEC that ESPN wasn't willing to pay more money for that 9th conference game. I think it hurts Greg Sankey. Now, people are going to disagree with me. That's fine. This is why we do the show. So you can disagree. We can talk college football. But it hurts him. Now, a lot of people are going to go, Greg, your cheese has slipped off your cracker. It hurts him that the ACC is about to implode. It hurts him because the Big Ten, it doesn't matter how many defensive moves the SEC makes. It hurts him that the Big Ten is going to plant a flag in the Southeastern Conference. It even hurts him that the Big 12 survived over the Pac-12. A Big 12, let's just call it what it is, a victory over the Pac-12, sorry Tony Altomore, that hurts Greg Sankey. Having schools, conferences negotiate with student athletes to give them more money, that hurts Sankey. Times are changing, hurts Sankey. I'm not up here saying that the SEC is not going to be the most powerful, most successful conference in the years ahead. I'm not going to say that. The SEC is going to flourish. They're going to continue to flourish. They have great universities, great student athletes, and they are in the best. They have recruiting grounds to the south, to the north, to the east, the west. They're going to be fine. But none of these changes that are going on help the SEC except when it comes to this media money revenue for the playoff distribution, and when it comes to he's trying to make a power grab and the Big Ten. But the pushback was real. And they are calling his bluff. And I think you're seeing it play out. So I wanted to do this Saturday night show because we got this week coming up. There could be a whole heck of a lot of drama this week. We could get resolution. In my opinion, it would be fantastic. But we could get fireworks. We could get an explosion. We could have somebody walking out. And I think Sankey's feeling the heat. He doesn't play well with others. Even though the reporters are not typing away and putting that out there, it's known. He does not play well with others, just like Kevin Warren. And I think Tony Petitti has done him no favors. I think Tony Petitti has been really aggressive, trying for the interests of his media partners, for CBS, NBC. He wants those conference races. He's been pushing for 4 automatic qualifiers. So when they got pushed back to 3, Petitti and Sankey put out this together, this exclusive rights for first round games, first round bye, and it was absolutely an overreach, and it hurt their positions. I have taken a few calls. Well, I haven't taken. I've put out a few calls. I've poked and prodded. I'm working on the Clemson thing. I keep working on the Clemson thing. I've got more people to check out with. Different names. I'm going to try. I'm going to put an effort out there. But I've had conversations today about what Sankey said. Again, taking shots. It just isn't going to play well. It's not going to play well. Again, they're trying to get a resolution here this week. And he's complaining that people have put it on the shelf for a couple years. Nobody had put it on the shelf. There's been a lot of changes going on, man. And nobody was in position. Nobody was in position. In fact, Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, let's just be honest. The reason why we have a 12-team playoff format, which I think is absolutely fantastic, has democratized the sport. It's going to give more revenue and juice to the Big Ten and the SEC if their teams perform. You've already had the advantages. It's already all laid out there. I think it's fantastic. But the reason you want to go from 12 to 14 is because unfortunately for Sankey, there's going to be an ACC implosion. That's why they're going to 14. And that's why Brett Yormark wants a clause in there, a look-in clause that if it happens before 2028, they can rechange everything again. And it's probably it's going to happen. So let me get to your, I appreciate the patience. That's a long monologue. But we had to do it before Monday started this week. Just to give more context of what is going on in the CFP playoff negotiations. Let me do tiny violin players in the SEC get NIL money? Thank you so much, PNWU, for your generosity. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. Again, and now this live show was not about Tony Petitti. I got a feeling that a live show coming Monday or Tuesday is going to be about Tony Petitti. As you know, I have not been shy. Phone lines are open. Nope. Phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. Let me know what you think is going to happen this week. Put down your prediction. Let me know on a phone call in the chat. What do you think is going to be the final resolution by the end of this week? The deadline is the end of this week when it comes to CFP negotiations. Tony Petitti, the whole Washington and Oregon and the Big Ten, that was decided on before you became commissioner. The Big Ten was going to go west again before they went southeast. And I know a whole lot of people said no, it wasn't going to happen. The Big Ten wasn't going to expand west again. USC and UCLA, it didn't matter if they were on the island. They were going to go to the SEC first. Remember Genetics 56 and Tony and all them saying all that stuff? It's remarkable that they get every single thing wrong, isn't it? And they've yet to say they've gotten anything wrong. The gap between those two realities is unbelievable. It was always known inside the Big Ten, and I reported to you, even though I got raked over the coals, that it was going to be Oregon and Washington next, either within that 5 months or 5 years. It happened. Washington and Oregon went to the Big Ten. That was all lined up. Things had to happen that was outside the control of the Big Ten. Big 12 was going to have to be successful in cracking open the Pac-12. And they were. So then the Big Ten swooped in. But that was all lined up. That was discussed. The cost-benefit analysis was all discussed. Oregon and Washington met with the Big Ten in Washington, D.C., in New York City. They had 2 separate meetings. Not in Chicago, like when Colorado met with the Big 12. Anyways, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. So do I give Petitti some credit for that expansion? Sure. But I'm not going to give him flowers. I don't know what... Petitti has been as quiet as a church mouse when it comes to his vision of what this is all going to look like. This advisory group between the SEC and the Big Ten. Do you have any confidence in this advisory group? I don't. I do not. Anyways. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. And again, waiting for a phone call. I will let me show you something here. One of the Dartmouth basketball players, Dusan Neskovic, a foreign player, has entered the transfer portal. And I don't know if this is about what's happened at Dartmouth. Remember, I believe the foreign national players were the 2 no votes on the 13-2 vote among the players when it came to unionization at Dartmouth for the basketball program. And I think, and I believe, but I'm not sure, I believe there's a visa issue in where they're getting, these students are getting educational visas, but I don't think it's a work visa. I'm not sure if he can be an employee right now of a basketball program. I don't think he can be an employee of Dartmouth College. Now, of course, Dartmouth is appealing and all this, but this is having consequences that maybe people didn't think of, and they're going to have to be worked out. It sure seems like this is the reason why he entered the portal. A very good basketball player, averaged 16 points a game for Dartmouth. I just wanted to show that, put that out there. And again, we'll go through it real quick here. Once again, waiting on a phone call. Let me... Ollie Gordon, he's our number 1 guy in the grade 8 running backs for 2024. Let me know how wrong I got that grade 8 rankings for 2024. Number 8 was Devin Neal, Kansas. Number 7, ETN.
Call from
Immaculate.
Mr. Hot Guy is on the line. The floor is yours. Saturday night is all right for PATC.
And we'll start calling you Mr. Saturday Night.
That's right. That's right.
All right, that's all right.
Yeah, I've been called worse.
So there wasn't that much about Clemson, so you're digging. That's a pretty tough dig, huh?
Not much about Clemson. No, not tonight. We've had to. We're trying to expand our circle of communication on Clemson.
Not quite trying to go down the same road with the previous one that didn't go well.
It went well.
It's all good. I mean, no one knows why that didn't happen.
Yeah. I got to be careful what I say because we're digging. We are digging. For people who don't know what me and Immaculate are going back and forth on is, in the article of Ross Dellinger of, what was it, yesterday? Jeez, yesterday.
Friday.
Ross Dellinger said
I know, it's every day. It's tough to keep track of it anymore.
But Clemson is, the lawyers have been meeting for 7 months. They're gearing up for a challenge to the ACC on the grant of rights in court. And of course, we've been saying that forever. And we were told there was a date range of January 20th to February 6th. It was going to happen for the winter meetings. It did not happen. We took the L. We've taken it 16 times, I believe, on the show. We don't know why it didn't happen. But I'm glad that Ross Dellinger put that out there because now everybody knows that's all real. It's just, it didn't happen. We were told at one point that we've been told this quite a few times lately, but North Carolina and Clemson are holding hands. We've got them on on the Holy Smokes Theater at the edge of the stage holding hands. And maybe that's why Clemson held up. They're holding up for North Carolina. But we definitely do not have that confirmed. It's just speculation. We do know that Clemson and North Carolina are holding hands, basically, on this. So, but yeah, we're trying to, again, Clemson's not giving any interviews. They're just completely silent. It's crazy. It's a mystery. And we don't have it solved. But we are coming at it from different angles right now. So hopefully we'll have something early this week.
Yeah, that was just like a tiny little portion in that article, which really, to me, stood out the most of the entire article.
Yeah.
But another interesting part that stood out to me was the part about your mark. Now, when I see you talking about Sankey kind of throwing, doing what he's doing, kind of made me think your mark because of that stipulation that he made.
Yeah.
That might be sticking in his craw a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking. You're talking about commissioners. I think it was your mark. I think your mark got under his skin a little bit.
Yes.
Because that's basically saying, yeah, we're going to expand again in the future, and when that happens, we want to look at this again. And after all, Sankey's talking about, I've been doing this for 4 years. These guys have only been doing it for 2. And your mark's over here saying, yeah, we think we're going to want to do this again in another year or 2.
Yeah.
I feel like Sankey's just like, I'm done.
Yes.
I'm done with this. So to me, that's what I got from what you're saying.
Great point.
Your mark might have gotten under his skin a little bit. So that's kudos to him, but maybe also, watch your back. They do call him Shanky.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's about all I got on that one. That's very interesting that he's doing a little Friday media dump, throwing some flack out there that he doesn't think most people are going to see.
And it's not okay. It's not that he just did it. It's not even that he's done this many times before. This is him. This is his personality. But he's doing it on a Friday before this next unbelievable crucial week, Immaculate.
Yeah, I honestly, you're asking, I have no idea how this is going to go, and I don't even want to guess. I like, this could go in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I don't think that there's a pathway that's already kind of pointed out, like, we'll go this way. I mean, the 14, if they don't do any buys for conference championship games, it's going to devalue those. Like, just plain and simple. And what if they just stick with 12?
Because of this implosion that's going to happen of the ACC. That's why it's I've had it's okay. So this is going to sound very strange, but I seriously don't. If you gave Tony Petiti, Brett Yormark, and Greg Sankey a shot of truth serum, okay, Immaculate? If you gave all three of them a shot of truth serum.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah, it would be Greg Sankey that would be the one that wouldn't want the ACC to implode. Because if the ACC implodes, sure, the SEC could eat first, second, third, fourth, whatever, right? But it lets the Big Ten into the Southeast, and it lets the Big 12 with a grand possibility to gain power into the East Coast, which enhances Fox Sports' portfolio. It's something if this is something Brett Yormark wants, this is something that the Big Ten definitely wants. Cloak and dagger. I'm telling you, they want this. Ohio State, they acquiesced. Michigan, Penn State, they acquiesced to the Washington and Oregon thing because they're going to call the shots in the Southeast. It's the SEC, even though they're going to grab big, valuable brands, right? They're going to be. It's not going to be as beneficial to them, even though it is going to be beneficial, but not as beneficial to them as the Big Ten and the Big 12.
Yeah, and in the ACC, they're all under control because ESPN controls how much visibility they get. And the SEC knows that they're always going to win that fight.
Yep.
So in the ACC, they're all under control. It's nice. It's fine. And you start taking some of those brands and you put them in the Big Ten, and you put them on 3 different networks showcasing. This is one of the reasons why I don't really care that much about previous viewership numbers. I mean, I do, and they matter.
Yeah.
But they're just not all important to me because it really is apples and oranges. I mean, you're talking about schools that unless they play Florida State, not very many people were going to care anyways. And it was probably just being put on ESPN2. Their ACC network numbers are so bad they won't even report it. That I just, like, you take a Miami, a Clemson, Georgia Tech, a North Carolina, Virginia, whomever, and if you put them in the Big Ten, look, they're going to beat their numbers of the past considerably. And I think Sankey knows that. I mean, those Southern programs will be out from underneath SEC control, basically, because they'll no longer be an ESPN-controlled conference. So I get it. I mean, I get why he's like that. And that's why I said I could not believe at one point in time, would not believe that the SEC would be stupid enough, dumb enough to allow FSU to go to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like they should have, if they were smart, they should have made sure 100% FSU got into that tournament. Don't put your own team ahead of them. I mean, it was just really short-sighted.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe what they've done to actually give boosters and donors of Florida State, who would normally be like, no. We are going SEC. We want to be able to travel to games. We want, there's so many more reasons why they want to be in the SEC. But they've actually given those people reason to say, no, F them. Let's go Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, administration FSU is going to be like, all right, we need to do this soon before these people change their mind. So it's, something they need to worry about.
And shame on me, I forgot one of the big reasons why the SEC doesn't want to implode. The SEC doesn't want the ACC implode. Is because of Notre Dame. They've been coddling Notre Dame for years. They don't want the Big Ten. They don't want Notre Dame to go to the Big Ten. They're fine with Notre Dame being an independent program. ACC implodes, it creates another opportunity for Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. So the SEC don't want changes. I mean, changes are coming, but they want to compress the changes as much as possible since Texas and Oklahoma left to join them. And I think he's feeling heat. And him saying this on a Friday before the most crucial week in college football modern day history, man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's kind of how you know when something's percolating, when the stress starts to bubble up to the top on these guys, and then they start to lose their composure a little bit. It's getting hot. So, I don't know, man. Up to you. I can hop off here if someone else wants to call in, or if you want me to hang out with someone deep.
That's fine. You can hop off. I think we'll get another caller, so.
I think you will too.
I appreciate
All
it,
right.
Mr. Hawkeye.
Good talking to you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful call from Mr. Hawkeye. Mike Smith, Greg Rants, stanky leg, deserves it. Thank you, Mike Smith. I appreciate your generosity to the channel. The Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, 16 teams, 4422, 2G5, 2 at large. Looks like I'm going to take the L. I thought we were going to get to a 4422, 1-3 to get everybody on board. And maybe what still happens, but there's weaknesses to that as well. We've talked about it. I love the 12. I love what we're doing now. Hold on 1 second.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, thanks for calling, my brother. Can you hold on 1 second, sir?
Absolutely, Greg.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan Willie, the Evil Badger, for your generosity. Carrie, hey, Clemson, how does our balls feel? I'm not really sure what that means, but Carrie, thank you so much for your super chat. I do appreciate your generosity. R Webb, just think if Sankey hadn't knife Bowlesby.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. R Webb, thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. And Chris Hughes, super chat. Could it be that this came out today in order to prepare everyone for no agreement to be reached this week? That's interesting. Interesting. I think if it was about that, if it was preparing the ground for that to happen, I think it could have been done a little bit better, right? I just think this was, once again, Sankey not being able to control his emotions, whatever. I think it would have been more better done if that was the case. But you could be correct, Chris. And if that's the case, boy, I'm not going to be happy. I am not going to be happy. I am not going to be happy. This studio is going to explode. Thank you, Chris Hughes, for your super chat, for your generosity. Interesting comment indeed. Ryan Thomas, PATC legend. Thank you for your patience. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Oh no, I'm always happy. You do a great job, Greg. So I mean, I'm glad that the fat guy in Minnesota is doing is doing this, because you do a far better job than the space cadet here in Washington D.C. But I need to vent, Greg. I need to vent. I know you heard this, and you acquiesced to the PATC community earlier this week. Yeah. On the two league super conference or whatever, 2 conference super league or whatever, and it just absolutely drives me nuts, because that's not happening. It's not happening, and I will tell people exactly why it's not happening. Because in order to have some 48-team super league or whatever you want to call it, it would require the SEC to get outside of its geographical boundaries or territory in which it is, which it's not going to feel comfortable doing. And it would require the Big Ten to add schools that don't quite fit its academic profile. Period. End. Story. Stop. Basically, it's not going to happen, because they're not. These leagues are not going to add. The networks are not going to pay the same amount of money for some of these ACC schools as they're going to pay the Big Ten schools. I mean, unless it's like, I get going to 20 if your additions are, FSU or Notre Dame or FSU and Clemson. That makes sense. Yeah. But when you start adding, Miami, Georgia Tech, and all these other schools in there, that dilutes the pot a little bit more. And the networks, the networks are not going to pay for that. And ultimately, you did the breakout of the numbers, earlier, or I think Immaculate did it. Immaculate is like basically, the intellectual firepower of the PATC community. He did a great comparison. Essentially, I think, what was it? I'm using this as a rough approximation of value, Greg, but about 58%, based on the math based on that article. Yep. That came out on 3, and then basically Immaculate to kind of prove this out. 58% of the money would go to the Big Ten, SEC. 32% or so would go to like the Big 12 and ACC, with the other 10% going to Notre Dame and the G5. So basically, if you take the G5 and Notre Dame and all those other pieces, okay, and you add them together, that's 40% of the fan base. And the networks are not going to basically throw that away, because college sports fans are not like professional sports fans. They move, with professional sports fans, you know this as well as I know. If you move to a city, you tend to adopt a professional sports team. That's what fans do.
Yeah.
But when people graduate a college or have a connection to a college, they have that allegiance for life, Greg.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give up that allegiance to follow another team that's in some big super conference. They just won't watch it. And the networks are not going to throw away that kind of money, and they're not going to pay that same kind of money with 40% less of the content. And I mean, that's just the reality. At the end of the day, they know that just as much as anybody. And Greg Sankey can go out there and, hoot and holler all he wants. But the reality is I will remind people the same story. Greg, if you recall, 25 years ago, what was the strongest conference in college football? No bias. 25 years ago.
25 years. What year are we looking at?
1999, somewhere around there, 2099, right? The beginning of the BCS era.
The Big East. I don't know.
No, well, they were good,
Yeah.
but you look at that time where you had Nebraska, Texas A&M. Kansas State. The Big 12 was a solid super conference back in the late 90s. And because of arrogance and short-sightedness and the horse and buggy approach, it basically allowed itself to be destroyed. And I will say this again, and people can think I'm crazy for saying this, but, Sankey, arrogance can easily destroy the SEC in 20 years. I don't care what anybody says. I think nobody's immune to falling. That's just how life is. And I mean, giants fall all the time. And, I've mentioned this many, many times. The reason why the SEC has its dominance is because it has a geographic monopoly in the Southeast. The minute that gets challenged by the Big Ten or the Big 12 coming in and getting more teams from ACC cleanup and Fox getting in there, the minute that happens, that begins to slowly erode away the power of the SEC. Because if you're a recruit in Georgia or Florida, and you can see over OTA, CBS, NBC, and Fox, your family can see you on TV there. You've got a Big Ten network, and it's going to be far more appealing to those athletes from the exposure multiplier than ESPN kind of having this sole monopoly over the SEC. And quite frankly, if you want my honest opinion, Greg, I think ESPN screwed the SEC, but they haven't realized it. But the SEC hasn't realized it yet, because I think in the next few years, as the Big Ten TV deal continues to kind of blossom and mature, and the exposure that comes from that, I think you're going to start seeing some hoot and hollering within the SEC and frustration with ESPN. And ESPN wants to control everything. They want to, they want to kind of box everybody out. But you know what? The free market doesn't allow that to happen. So, I mean, I think that, that's what's going to happen. But the ACC's teetering. But, ESPN should have known this. Did they think that they could honestly screw Clemson and FSU and think they were going to sit there and take it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't care. Maybe they figured they would get in there eventually and they would just see what they could get away with. That seems to be how ESPN operates.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're coming into a different day, Greg, with streaming and all these sorts of things. But I'm meandering now like the Great Mississippi River and the several rivers that feed into the Mississippi and Minnesota. So I'll get off, Greg. But thanks for a great job. Thanks for letting me vent. And maybe we can all have a PATC picket riot in front of Greg Sankey's house. Anyway, take care, Greg.
Got it. And by the way, the next live show that we do, the chances are really high that I'm going to probably do a rant on Tony Petitti. So this is not, boy, I'm not confident. I'm not confident about anything anymore because I think Tony Petitti and Sankey hurt themselves. I think they hurt themselves. And I think Sankey knows it.
Call from
JD.
JD, the floor is yours, Mr. Seminole. What do you got to say, good sir?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. We're having a great Saturday night. It's all right for PATC show, and I'm glad you're aboard. And we have a big crowd, so let it fly, good sir.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up this subject. I read that earlier, and basically, this is the diplomatic way for Sankey to remind everyone, trying to remind everyone who's boss, and he's very offended because people don't seem to know their place. And that is exactly what's going on.
Uh-huh.
People are don't know their place in his mind, and he's really not that happy.
No.
So, I'm. You just look at the behavior of him every time there's a controversy or anything else. He is quick to deflect, but he's also quick to pounce.
Yeah.
And you and Ryan and Immaculate and the conversations that have gone up to this point, you're exactly right. The SEC was perfectly happy with the ACC being there, and they could have their thumb, their competitive thumb, to hold the ACC down. And now that everything is changing, okay, their supremacy is being challenged. Now, don't get me wrong. It's going to take a while to challenge it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But their positioning is being challenged. And Yarmark speaking up, other things being done, everybody's not necessarily bowing down to Greg right now.
Or to Tony Petitti.
Oh, sure. And so, of course, where do you try to remind people about the pecking order? You do it in the press. And that's the biggest tool they have. And don't get me wrong, and you know as much as I do, when Greg Sankey speaks, college football media almost acts as though it's the king, making a proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's some teetering on all that right now. Mm-hmm. There's some people that are feeling a little more comfortable, or I feel a little more comfortable about speaking out. But we can joke around as FSU fans about Miami's going to get left behind, or other teams are going to get left behind, or whatever else. I don't want anybody to get left behind. Any team that is of value, I want every team to have the opportunity to compete. Okay? Mm-hmm. And if every team has, whatever your value is as a brand, I want you to be able to achieve that. I'm a capitalist, but I'm a free market capitalist. I want everybody to have an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And the SEC was more than happy to keep FSU locked away, isolated. You listen, and I think you and I talked a month or two ago about some of the SEC media was mad that FSU was looking to leave the ACC.
Yeah.
I think it was Bianchi and Matt Hayes and some of the other ones that were just like they were upset that FSU even thought about filing the lawsuit. And it's just like their reaction. Bianchi had actually wrote a story that FSU's always done more with less. they should just take the money and invest in the program and just continue on like they've been doing for decades. And it's elitism at its finest. And no bully ever wants to be challenged, especially when you actually have the ability to challenge them at this point. So
yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate you bringing it all up, and I'm the arrogance of Sankey. I mean, who knows? Like I said, there might be a weird twist of fate, and FSU ends up in the SEC.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to change my opinions of Sankey. I mean, is he a good commissioner? Yes. Does he have some narcissistic traits? Yes. And it is what it is, but hopefully we'll end up in the big, and we'll see. But I'm ready for Clemson to do something, and I'm really looking forward to you making some more contacts there.
We're working on it. Yep. Appreciate it, man.
All right, have a good night. Thank you.
Great call. Great call by JD, Mr. Seminole. I've just taken the phone off the hook because I want to get back. We got a lot of new people in watching us since the start. I want to get back into the story here. Why we're bringing this up. Sankey, Friday. We'll put the phone back on, but right now it's off the hook. I just want to get back into this On3 article. This is what we're talking about tonight. By the way, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button and get your notifications on. We can come out at live at any time. You got to keep your head on a swivel if you're part of the Peek Around the Corner community. College football, Peek Around the Corner community. Got to keep your head on a swivel. So hit the subscribe button, open up your notifications, and smash that like button if you are enjoying our content. Greg Sankey explains frustration over college football playoff discussions. This came out today. He said this yesterday during the women's basketball SEC tournament. Going to go through this real quick, short article. There's a link in the description. You can read the whole thing. As the college football playoff gets ready to expand to 12 teams this year, the conversations continue about what happens behind the next two seasons. From further expansion to media rights and revenue distribution, it seems as though the CFP isn't done changing. The idea of expanding the CFP has been around for the last few years, although it's becoming a reality starting with the 24th season. We're getting it to be a 12-team playoff, right? There was talk of growing from 4 teams to 12 in 2023 prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, but conversations stalled and had to wait to 2024. In fact, the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey says he thinks the different topics being discussed now should have come up earlier, which is why he has expressed frustration about where things stand. We have a reality for the college football playoff that says we need to be in conversations, Sankey said, ahead of Friday's SEC's women's basketball tournament game between Auburn and LSU. And it's been a 4-year work project for me that others decided just to put on the shelf for basically 2 years. Now, this is, if I would have been there, I would have challenged him. I would have said, who has put it on the shelf for basically 2 years? Who? I mean, even if you would have worked this out, Sankey, everything would have had to been redone anyways. Just like the SEC expanded with Oklahoma and Texas years ago, the Big Ten has had 2 different expansions. The Big 12 just expanded. The Pac-12 just imploded. All this would have had to been redone anyways. I don't understand this. Once again, Sankey passive-aggressive attack. Once again, jabbing his peers, He's done this over and over again. Yeah, he's the most powerful commissioner in college football, the most successful conference in the country. But again, he keeps having to take jabs at people. He's done this over and over and over again. We've got the receipts. We showed this a week. This happened Friday. This was published today. As we head into the most important week in modern day college football, he's taking jabs at other people. It ain't done yet. Part of my frustration is the details that we're trying to grind through right now. We should have been grinding through back in 2022 or 23, not 24. You couldn't have. And even if you did, you would have had to redo it all again right now anyway. We've been talking about this since 2022. We said the great gold rush of 26 was going to happen in early in 24 when the elbows were going to start flying. There's no way you could have settled this before now. But yet you got to take shots at everybody. But problems yield an effort. That's a mantra of mine. You've got a lot of mantras. One of them is you take shots at your peers constantly. But Sankey had a message about what's being reported. This is the most important part of the article. This is the most important part of the article. But Sankey had a message about what's being reported about the CFP's looming decisions. And he channeled Mississippi State's athletic director, Zach Salmon, in the process. And we'll get to Zach Salmon here in a second. Reports indicated multiple ideas the CFP is considering after the 2026 season when the current deal with ESPN expires. A 14-team model has been proposed, and reported discussions also included automatic buys for the Big Ten and the SEC following their expansions. However, ESPN reported the CFP is reconsidering that idea after public backlash, including from the Big 12 and the ACC coaches. There was backlash everywhere. It was the most ridiculous, overstepping, way too beyond the power grab that's going on. It's such a ridiculous idea that on our live show, Wait Run It Broke, I said, this is going to hurt Petiti and Sankey. It's too much of an overstep. There's been a big backlash, a big pushback, and I think Greg Sankey is responding to that yesterday. And an article came out that he's responding to it. He's feeling the heat. He's feeling the pushback. His bluff is being called. He thinks all this should have been decided before anyways. I shouldn't be in this. I shouldn't be feeling this heat because this all should have been decided before. Sankey, the last time that you were in the room discussing the playoff format from going to 4 to 12 with Bob Bowlesby, you knifed him in the back. Tony Petiti, not you, but the commissioner of the Big Ten, Kevin Warren, when you were in the alliance with the ACC and the Big 12, the Pac-12 and the ACC, you knifed the Pac-12 in the back. Don't be complaining that this stuff hasn't been done yet. You've expanded. You have taken care of your institutions in your conference. Well, Yormark did that for the Big 12. He saved the conference. He poached from the Pac-12. He got the deal done before the Pac-12. On October 30th, 2022, he hit a grand slam home run and got the deal done with ESPN and Fox. The deal that Kliavkoff should have gotten for the Pac-12 schools. And the Big 12 was successfully poached the Pac-12. People have been working on things, Sankey. People have been working on stuff, not just you. Nobody shelved anything for 2 years. The Big 12 schools are trying to survive. They were trying to be part of it. They were trying to do whatever they could to be even in the room to give you a pushback, by the way. That's been happening. This arrogance is unbelievable. unbelievable. And Tony Petitti has the same thing going on, but he doesn't like to talk. And in this case, he shouldn't be talking. In other things, he should be talking, but he ain't. I'll get to Tony Petitti. I'll get to him earlier in this coming week. Anyways, so now Sankey feeling a little bit embarrassed, right? So this is what he says. Myself and my colleagues, when I leave here, I'm going to jump on a phone call yet again. I told our athletic directors. I quoted Zach Zellman, Mississippi State athletic director. So when Zach made a football change in his press conference, he told the press. He said, unless it comes from me, don't believe it, Sankey said. So this is Sankey. While I appreciate anonymous sources and the unnamed athletic director in this conference. So he's, one of the athletic directors in the SEC, looks like he might have given some information out. There's a little bit of a leakage. So Sankey in his passive-aggressive nature, which he's been exhibiting since he's been commissioner, and we've got the receipts, and we're going to show them here in a little bit again. While I appreciate the anonymous sources and the unnamed athletic director in this conference, and the unnamed athletic director in that conference, whatever that conference is, I told our athletic directors and our presidents and chancellors, unless it's coming from me, don't believe it. I'll tell you when it's true. Don't believe anybody but me. Don't believe the leaks coming out. Don't believe the reporting. Don't believe that me and Petitti went and tried to get exclusive rights for a first round. Don't believe anybody but me. This is what when the Big Ten took on USC, when they grabbed USC, UCLA, Sankey called that a panic move. And I'm not going to read through these comments, but it's right there in an old SIS Sports Illustrated article. And then when the Big 12 saved themselves, by the way, poached from the Pac-12, when the Big Ten did what they wanted, when the Big Ten successfully did something, when they got Oregon and Washington, and they were always going to go there next before they went to the Southeast, and I think Sankey knew that. That's why he did not like it when the Big Ten took Oregon and Washington, because the next step on the train is to the Southeast. This is what Sankey said. But that didn't stop SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey from commenting on the happenings Tuesday and offering a not-so-subtle jab at the other two leagues regarding their westward expansion, the Big 12 and the Big 10. Again, he's taking shots. He lobbed a barb that seemed pinpointed toward the Big 10 and the Big 12. He's continually doing this. And he did it on a Friday. The Friday before we have this incredible, important week. Did what Greg Sankey just said, did that help his leverage for next week? No. No, but he's feeling the heat. And the idea that the Big 12 and the ESPN is going to just say, okay, SEC and the Big Ten, you just go off and you just cut everybody else out of playoff access. You have your own playoff. For the Big Ten, for the SEC and Fox, just to devalue the bleep out of the Big 12 when they both have a 6-year media contract with them. When there's all this type of sponsorship, when they have conference championship games that they're covering, to take out of the all the money that they're spending on the Mountain West, the Fox Sports, they're just putting up Friday night, for everybody just to walk away and have this Power 2 complete breakaway in 2024, is complete nonsense, in my strongly held opinion. And I think the bluff has been called. I think Sankey, again, every time he feels a little heat, something ain't quite right, he comes out. He comes out and does this passive-aggressive nonsense. He did it again. I've been kind of waiting on this. He finally spoke up and said something. And I think it gives us a hint, a clue, that he's not happy with what's been leaked. He's not denying anything. He did not say that the SEC and the Big Ten did not ask for those exclusive first-round buys, and I think it's hurt their position. I think they've lost credibility in the room. Just like when George Kliavkoff said a whole bunch of nonsense. Complete nonsense about UCLA making less money in the Big Ten. They shouldn't go. We'll get them back. His counter offer to ESPN, complete nonsense. He lost credibility inside his own room and people outside his own room. I think there's a little bit of a heat. I think there's an incredible pushback. And I think Sankey's feeling it, and we're going into this next week. And I'm praying, because I love my college football, I'm praying for resolution. Yes, SEC and the Big Ten are going to get more power, voting rights money. But I think they've overstepped their bounds. And I think we're getting this great pushback. And I think Sankey doesn't like it. And I don't think Sankey wants the ACC to implode. Of the three commissioners, between Sankey, Yormark, and Petiti, Sankey doesn't want all these changes. He doesn't want it happening. So he doesn't want the Big Ten in the Southeast. He doesn't even want the Big 12 to grow in the East because it expands Fox Sports' portfolio once again. He doesn't like what is going on. That's my take. Let me know your take. I'm going to open up the phone lines once again. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, get yourself notified, open up your notifications, and smash that like button. The phone lines are now open again. 763-260-1333. I appreciate your patience. I wanted to go through that again. A lot of new people have come in to the chat. Next week you can't even oversell next week. It's impossible to oversell it. And while tonight I'm throwing elbows at Sankey, Petiti, you're next.
Call from
Cheney Thornton.
Mrs. Arkansas Razorback, the floor is yours. How you doing, ma'am?
Well, how you doing, Greg? It's been another rough day, but hey, it's just, you get through life, just like you try to, like Mr. Sankey does, And if Mr. Sankey is mad now, maybe he should tune into the Monty show and find out he's not even going to have a job anymore. I don't know. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed that great show. That was such a great show. But look, I just wanted to say this. I wanted to sum it up in 2 words. What Josh Pate said. We tried. And I hate to say it, I'm not someone that agrees with Josh Pate very often. In fact, I'm an SEC girl, Arkansas Razorback, all that. But and I'm telling you right now, like I would take anything you said, over what he says almost all the time. But this is definitely Sankey already trying to play the victim card. He's already trying to play it. And this is what he does. He, like you said, he does not like to be wrong. He does not like to be threatened upon. I thought you just made a great point at the very end before you open up the phone lines. He does not want to see the Big Ten come down to Florida State, anywhere in his territory. He feels like that's violating. And he's just the kind of person that, like you said, at the bottom line, if he doesn't get what he wants, if he doesn't get his way, he has no problems. You talked about, like, with with Bowlesby, for example, right? Like, he's over here negotiating a deal, talking with that, and he's got Oklahoma and Texas coming the whole time. And you can talk about Texas A&M to people there, on the members of the board, that, you know, the SEC's always had this gentleman's agreement about, yeah, you know, we're not going to add this school. You're here now. And Sankey's like, I don't recognize that. Not at all. And, you know, he told Texas A&M, that's just tough. That's the way it is. Texas and Oklahoma are coming. He doesn't care about these, you know, being respectful, working it out. And he's going to lay down the whole victim card tracks. And I was telling other people, telling Immaculate from everyone I said that I've talked to with inside the SEC, that he's serious about this, about getting what he wants. And I hate to say it, I would love to see a Minnesota-Arkansas matchup a lot, but it would be horrible for college football if the SEC and Big Ten decide, you know what, we're not getting enough this week, let it be.
Yeah, let me. I don't remember the exact phrase, but Winston Churchill said, boy, I'm going to blow this, but Winston Churchill said something to the effect of having a strong, I'm going to get this totally wrong, so somebody in the chat correct me, but Winston Churchill said something to the effect of, you can't have a strong foreign policy without a legitimate use of, without the ability to actually go through on your threats. I'm completely butchering it, okay? Winston Churchill said it
right.
Very eloquent. Somebody look it up and put it in the chat. But basically, Winston Churchill says, to have a strong foreign policy, you cannot do something without a legitimate use of threat. Like your enemy won't move unless you. Okay, he says something like, it's like having an orchestra without the instruments. Okay, and this is where I think we're at. I think the Big 12 and the ACC have said, we're calling your bluff. You want to go separate? Go ahead. I mean, I think we're at this point. Like, go ahead. You want to go through all this stuff? You want to, you want to just completely separate and go all through the court, because you're going to have so many politicians. You're going to have so many problems, Petiti, and saying, if you want to do that now, you go ahead. But, you'll get more money. You'll get more of this. But there comes a time where we got to get this done. You being passive-aggressive, Petiti being as quiet as a church mouse, wanting all this stuff. There comes a time where, you know what, we don't think you've got the ability to go and just leave us here in 2000. Go ahead. I mean, basically, they've called their bluff. And I think the pushback was real. It's being reported in some places that I trust. And I think Sankey's upset about it. That's what my take is on it.
Oh, he's very upset. And from what I've heard, just like I said, when I talked to Chris a little bit the other night, because he was saying, I was asking, like, are these negotiations, I was talking about just the one example of the conference championship game that he wants, right, for the, both him and Tony want that for the SEC and the Big Ten. To him, those aren't negotiation tactics. To him, this is, okay, well, we've negotiated down from 4 to 3. We're going to get 3 AQs, but, you're going to give us the conference. To him, like to us, Greg, it makes sense, like why there's no way you should be given that. But to him, it does make sense. And he's got a whole history of this whole, I'm the victim. I want to play the victim card. Mm-hmm. And, even in the interviews after Texas and Oklahoma and all that was going on, and, I mean, just imagine how the Big 12 felt. I understand why all these Big 12 schools hated the SEC after that. He's negotiating a deal with him at the same time. I mean, you better not shake his hand and turn around. And then he'll find a way when he stabs you in the back, he'll find a way to make it look like he was the one that got done wrong. And he's laying the groundwork already here. And that's why I made those comments about Josh Pate, because when it boils down to it and it happens, he's going to be like, well, I don't want to have to break away, but they gave me no choice. And he's essentially already starting to put all that down there. He's still going to try to get his way. Now, I'm like you. I just don't see how in 2 years. Now, the Monty thing, I don't even talk about that because that's mass insanity. But just how do you even do it, right? Like, how do you even, if things completely fall apart next week, ESPN pulls the offer off the table, and Greg Sankey starts crying, and he starts saying, look, we tried everything we could. We did this, but we're, us in the Big Ten are going to have our own playoffs now. Where does it even start? Like you said, I know you've mentioned that a couple of times, but this is serious now. Like he is seriously to the point where he's not going to back down on some of the stuff. And if like you said, and if the Big 12 and the ACC are calling his bluff, what happens next?
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, I can list experience after experience, like people have talked about, and I understand why some of the people, Texas A&M, I know they're very happy in the SEC. They weren't happy with Sankey at the time over the Texas deal. Obviously, Bob Bowlesby. I can go right down the line, but he always does this, Greg. He always tries to make himself look innocent, passive-aggressive talk. Like you said, and you've been one of the few people saying it. People keep talking about the SEC expanding to 24. It's just never going to happen. He doesn't even he loves, of course, having Oklahoma and Texas in there. But and obviously he wants North Carolina. That's still a huge thing for him. But he doesn't want to grow to like a 24-school conference. He thinks people should stay in their region. And he thinks people should stay out of Florida so he doesn't have to add anybody down there. And he wants North Carolina, and he wants the Big Ten to do whatever they're doing nationwide and stay out of his territory. But, the world doesn't revolve around Greg Sankey, and that's the bottom line, Yeah. But, and yes, I have to agree with Bill G in the chat. If we do have to have a Big Ten SEC playoff breakaway, Minnesota and Arkansas would be epic. So we know that would be a huge game. And
all right.
A ratings nightmare.
Yeah.
But, I'm just trying to be on a lighter note. I hope it doesn't happen, Greg. That's the bottom line. But I just had to call in and tell you that this is just, like you said, this is Greg Sankey, and he wants to get his way.
Yeah.
And he feels like if he's been done wrong, he's not gonna settle for not getting what he wants. And it could be, and like you said, that quote was great, because in the end, I think it will totally destroy the SEC and the Big Ten if Tony Petitti goes down that road.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to destroy him right away, but something's going to happen, and history's going to look back on it. It's not going to be favorable for sure.
All righty.
But you guys have a great night.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry I missed the show the other day. And
no problem.
You have a great one. Thanks for
Jamie.
dealing with my horrible voice.
No, you got a great voice. Thanks for calling, Mrs. Razorback. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say I hope for the best for everybody. I mean, I go back, and speaking of Josh Pate, he did a thing the other day that I loved on his show, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but he said, like, here's what I would do if I could. And he brought back the Big East, right? And he brought back the old Southwestern Conference, but putting Oklahoma in them. I mean, we can't – that's never going to happen anymore. It would be nice. I mean, that's what Sankey would love. But let's just get real. I mean, it's not going to happen. So, it is what it is. We'll just hope that college football stays together and nobody gets left out. But you guys have a great one.
You got it. Thank you so very much. Great call, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie Thornton. Ryan Willie, the Evil Badger, gifted 5 memberships. Holy smokes. Ryan Willie, incredible generosity to this channel all the time. It's unbelievable. Thank you. I'll call you Mr. Badger tonight. Mr. Badger, Ryan Willie, thank you. You are hereby Cloak and Dagger once again. And Hidden Hawaii, Carrie, B, Irvin Williams, and Mix. You are all hereby Cloak and Dagger Knighted. New members to the show. What that means is you can go into our YouTube channel and watch the membership-only episodes. They're the black ones. They have a big beer mug in the black picture, and it's Cloak and Dagger. We have episodes for everybody to watch. We have early Cloak and Dagger episodes for memberships only, where we drop a little bit of intriguing intel information in those episodes. So give those a watch. For the other people in the chat, if you want to become an early peak member, there is a link in the description. Hit the link, hit the join button, and become a Cloak and Dagger member. So thank you, Ryan Willie. I do appreciate it. Here's the thing. This is what I'm really disappointed in. As we head into the next week. Mooncat, Greg, in my opinion, this is one of your best episodes ever. Thank you, Mr. Mountaineer. Mooncat, appreciate your super chat. Thank you so very much. Chris Hughes, I really think this article is backing up what Josh Pate said this past week when he said both the Big Ten and the SEC will say, we tried, time will tell. And that time is next week. That's why we had to do a show tonight. But I do want to say this. As we head into next week, what I'm afraid of is, again, I'm going to go back to this tweet I put out a long time ago. Nobody understands the power of consolidation more than this channel. I'm sorry, but that is, we've been talking about it for years. We saw this happening. We knew about USC before the rest of the country did. We're the ones that broke the story. This is on June 6, 2022. Even stronger interest than expected for Big Ten content during the media negotiations is not good news for the Pac. What BTM has been saying for years, as one of our big sources, is only growing stronger. Economic forces of consolidating big brands together, P2, P3, that led Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC now, is pulling USC away from the Pac. This was 24 days before it was announced that USC was going to the Big Ten. We were talking about it for 3 months. We had the inside information. We put it out there. We gave it to some media companies. They went with it. But a lot of people ignored us. That's fine. But we have known about this consolidation going to a P2. We know we gave all the reasons why. Here is what I'm nervous about. It is not about the Power 2 gaining more power. And that was always going to happen. That's why Oklahoma and Texas left. So all this would happen for them. This is why USC called this. We know this. But this is what I'm worried about. This is what I'm worried about. The Big Ten and the SEC have all this power. They're pushing. We knew that was going to happen. I understand why they're doing it. But Sankey, you remember relationships are so important in realignment. Well, it's really important in this. Sankey and Petiti have this power. And next week is the big week. But they don't have this power because those two are the ones who created all the power. This power, this creation of consolidation of power happened well before these two came onto the scene. It's Delaney, it's Fox. There was a lot of demographic. There's a whole bunch of different reasons why the SEC and the Big Ten have this power, this ever-growing power. Some of it you got to give credit to the schools, university, and leadership. Some of it just because. You know, Sankey, he might be the most brilliant guy in the world. Petiti might be the most brilliant guy in the world. But they're going into next week. They were born on third base. Now they're just trotting home. They weren't born, they weren't commissioners. They didn't start in the batter's box with the bat in their hand. Their power going into this last week before the deadline has been constituted because of what's happened before them and a little bit about what they've both done. But what they've really lost, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I'm going to say it. It's my show, and if everybody wants to split away and say no more Greg Pflugar, no more the fat guy from Minnesota, that's fine. But my problem is Sankey and Petiti don't have the power of persuasion. It's gone. That is my fear. And I've been waiting till the end of the show to say this. I think they've lost it. I think they went way out of bounds. And I think the pushback is real. Yes, they have power. They're going to get more money. They're going to get more stuff. But the power of persuasion, the power for Sankey, the wheel and deal, the talk, he doesn't have that. Kevin Warren didn't have it. Kevin Warren couldn't even build consensus among his own athletic directors. Kevin Warren couldn't even have a relationship with Fox Sports. We told you when Kevin Warren left, when he decided to take the Chicago president job, we said immediately, the next live show, nobody else was saying it, we told you, the expansion door, Big Ten expansion door is cracked open because now Fox Sports is willing to deal. They're willing to get that Oregon that they've wanted, that Washington that they've wanted, but they had to see Kevin Warren gone. That's how brutal Kevin Warren was as a commissioner. I'm not saying Sankey and Petiti are on that level, but going into that week, with all the power that they have, none of it is personal power. None of it is the power of persuasion. None of it is really their talent. And I think in some ways they got. And I think some ways they overreach. And I think we're seeing the results of that. And I think we saw the results of that in Sankey once again doing what he does, taking shots in public on Friday. And it posted today. And there was no way that I was not going to do a show tonight talking about all this, because we're heading into a very important week. And I would hope, I pray that you all stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner going into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think we're going to drop an episode tomorrow. And if something breaks, if Sankey says something again, what we know Petiti's not going to say anything. We'll have a live show tomorrow. But stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we go into the most important week in modern day college football. I want to thank everybody's incredible generosity to our show tonight. Unbelievable generosity. And I'm so thankful. So is the little general. We don't have strings attached. We're not a part of any organization. We do have connections, obviously. And we talk to really good people. But it's you all that keep us going. It's you all that keep the lights on. And it's you all is the reason why I keep poking and prodding to give you the peek around the corner in college football. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Carrie, so much for your generosity. Keep it up, Greg. You're doing a great job. Thank you for those kind words. Thank you for the incredible the comments. I wasn't able to get to a whole lot of them. There's a lot of people in the chat room, which I love. And, of course, the great phone calls. of today. It's always the great phone calls from PATC community. You guys are the ones that keep us going. You are the fire that keeps us running. So I want to thank you all. Again, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and open up your notifications, because I'm going to tell you something. We could be having 2 live shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Who knows? Everything that's reported, we're going to jump on. It's going to be a very busy week. So buckle up, brace for impact, subscribe to our channel, smash the like button, give me a thumbs down if you did not like the content or how it was presented, and let me know what we need to do better for you. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other.